Hello everyone and welcome to the Deepbluerenegade podcast. My name is Molly, also known as the Deepbluerenegade, and I'd like to welcome you guys to episode 74. Today is Sunday, January 25th, 2015, and I'm excited that you're hanging out with me today. I was thinking that I was going to record yesterday, but it turned out that as busy as my Sunday is going to be, my Saturday was even busier, so I managed to find some time to sit down and record. The episode's probably going to go up a little late, but what can you do? And I think it's going to be a short one, but oh well, such is life. So what I have sitting next to me right now is the Viajante that probably got the most love this week. I don't know, you're trying to come apart. How many times I have to stick the stitches back on this guy? I don't really want to put in another needle, but maybe I'll have to. So this is a Martina Bem pattern. I'm knitting it out of Wool Mysa lace in the Blautint colorway. And I think I actually ended up knitting at least a decent chunk again. Yeah, I got a couple of rows in last night, but it was pretty funny because it was looking like on Friday that Karen was going to actually have knit more in my shawl than I did. So I went to knitting Friday night, and Karen had brought some yarn to try out an idea she had for her next Viajante, and she was wearing her Viajante, and then she finished the swatch. She was happy. She figured out that she could do whatever her crazy variation. She's like, I'm out of knitting. I'm like, I have a Viajante. And she's like, okay. It's like, excellent, because it's your fault. So she knit like 3 or 4 rows on it for me on Friday, but I definitely have done more than 3 or 4 rows since then, so that's good. But obviously, like, it's moving pretty slowly now. So in terms of weight, I am at the 40% mark yet, which means I'm not quite to the point where I get to do something different, but close. Close enough that maybe I should be carrying around the scale with me. Possibly, I'm not sure. And that it is now time to move my little markers forward. Because what is it? I think I'm now into, according to Ravelry, because I updated the weight and stuff like that, I am to week number 8 on this. So I don't think I'm going to be able to finish in 10 weeks unless I suddenly have a knitting jag, but I will bring it with me today while I'm volunteering with the high schoolers, so we shall see. So, this has been a slow month. Or, rather, it's not that it's been a slow month for this particular project, it's that, what is it? I think I've spun more weight of fiber in the month of January than I did all of last year. So it's more just that I've been on a spinning jag more than a not knitting jag, which is totally different. There's only so much free time. So it's coming along. Maybe it'll turn out that it jumps past the Moonstone shawl in terms of what is closest to completion. And that's another reason to carry my scale around, because I really need to know about how much extra yarn I use per repeat so I can figure out if I'm close to done on it. So, and because I didn't end up bringing my yarn scale with me back in Michigan, I ended up missing out on a lot of repeats, or to measure the repeats, for lack of a better word. So I did get a little bit farther on this guy. Oh, that pulled. looks like it'll be okay. But, found that. So it'll probably black out. So this is the Moonstone Shawl. It's a Renee Levington design. And I am at this point at, I think, 31 grams left. So it's definitely getting smaller. So I will have to do the next half repeat and see how that turns out, but it is a vague blob at this point. We can scrunch it onto one side to sort of give you guys an impression of the length and drape of it all. So it is pretty gorgeous. It just takes a little bit more mind space, that's all. I'm wondering if I'm going to actually run out of beads. It sort of depends on how close I am to the end. I might have to go by the bead store again and pick some up. Because this is, what is it, about how many beads I have left, so I'm not actually showing you the spot. Oh well. So I've ended up using a decent number of the beads so far, so I might have to get some more. I lost a container somewhere. I'm trying to think about when that was, and I lost my crochet hook on this project. And so I'd hate to have to stop because I ran out of beads, but luckily the bead store is really close to where I work, so it's easy to quick drop by, especially on like a Thursday or something like that, because they're open late on Thursdays. So it's coming along. So I ended up doing the next couple of rows in order to weigh at knitting on Friday, so it isn't like it got a lot of love. It got 5 rows on it this week. So that means I'm 4.5 repeats in, and then I will put in the 5th and figure out from basically the half repeats how much extra yarn I'm using when I make a little triangle. We'll see whether or not I can make it to. So then from there I'll be able to figure out if I'm doing 5.5 or 6 total repeats for the shawl instead of the from there. But we shall see. It's coming along though. It may turn out that Viajante surpasses it, but there's 35 grams to knit on that one, and there's 119 to knit on the Viajante, so I think the remaining part of Viajante is now how much I basically started off with the Moonstone Shawl, so one of these is more mindless than the other, however. I did do some spinning, which is why obviously the knitting is still somewhat light. I am actually doing some plying now. So I did, what was it? I think on Monday I tried catching up with the Knit Girls. I didn't succeed, but I tried. And that meant that I spun the remaining 8 roll logs for my 2 ounces here. And now I am plying it up. I didn't end up measuring how much. It was basically like 2.03 ounces. There seemed to be a lot of waste in this one, which is unfortunate. Because I think I ended up having about 0.2 ounces of just crap I couldn't spin, unfortunately. And I managed to spin in a decent amount of crap in this, because the crap is actually soft. You know, the little short little second cuts are actually pretty soft. So if the person who had sheared the sheep had known what they were doing, and I knew what I was doing when it came to picking a fleece, it would have been much happier. Oh well. So that is the story there, is I have my center pull ball. I am plying from both ends of it. When I am done plying, I will wind it on my skein winder again, and then ply that. So I'm currently doing the counterclockwise part, and then I will switch over to the doing clockwise again to create my little cable ply yarn. So it is coming together. And now that's in the plying stage, just definitely a lot more mindless than before. So, and I have it in my spinning bag now because that keeps the distances from my hands correct so it doesn't end up making a crazy tangled mess. But chocolate Shetland fleece is continuing on. I don't know if I'm going to. And then I have another 2 ounces-ish, or greater than 2 ounces prepped up, ready to go, which probably means that before I start spinning that, I'll probably prep up a couple more so it's all ready to go and stick it in a grocery bag and let it be fluffy. Okay. More coffee is necessary. So that's just the case where, because I am prepping as I go, it just makes sense to keep a steady stream because I don't want not having carded fiber be the reason I'm not working on it. And that probably means I'll have to look up the dates. I'll have to figure out when the Poundathon challenge begins. If it begins in March, then I'm not going to be too worried about not spinning on the Shetland fleece until that begins, because I basically have about a pound that is unprepped at this point. And I'll just do that for that challenge. And in this case, I think it'll be a lot more manageable. I think when I did the Poundathon declared before, I had only done, I had declared it all. And obviously that didn't work. It did not motivate me. So, but let me grab the next thing I wanted to show you guys. I haven't given this a bath yet, but I did finish, I did ply up the nest fiber. So I used 2 different colorways. I did Magpie in Falkland, and then Nebula in BFL, and so it became the Cosmic Magpie. And it is, like, you're looking at this bad boy, it really isn't hardly blue at all, which I found to be really interesting. So you can definitely see the parts which were, it has a decent amount of magenta and a decent amount of green skeined up, which I just found to be very interesting because I think my favorite part of the Nebula colorway is the blue, but when it's applied together with other stuff, it isn't quite as obvious what you're looking at. So I am quite thrilled with how it turned out, but a little bummed there's not enough blue, if it makes sense. And this is probably very reminiscent of trekking. So it is barber pole madness. I'll just try to hold it in place to be able to show you guys what it looks like. It's just so barber pole-y. In terms of weight, so this is a little bit more than 8 ounces. And in total, with my little mini skein as well, it is about 550 yards for 8 ounces. So this was actually, what it would be. I was hoping to get a fingering weight, but it looks like it's more of a DK to sport weight based on the yardage. So what would it be? So it was about 250 yards for 7.5 ounce, or 250 yards for 219 grams. I think this guy is 7.5 ounces, and then this one is 0.7 ounces. So I got about 44 yards on this guy, which is Navajo plied, and just so cute. I don't think that I would Navajo ply a combo like that again, because I think it's just made it like super duper variegated. But you can definitely see a lot more blue in this skein because the blue got to land on itself instead of other places. So, yeah. Oh well. It'll be, so what is it? Nebula was the July colorway, so she won't be offering it in her shop until then, but it might have been fun to have done a gradient spin or something like that with the Nebula. And obviously this is pretty twisted. It hasn't gotten its bath yet. It doesn't feel over twisted, so I think a bath will end up doing a lot to help this one, but it is just all sorts of pretty. So I was thinking, based on the yardage I was getting with that partial one, maybe they're all about the same weight. I was just surprised that my little mini skein I was able to get 44 yards out of this guy. So in this case I just took the leftovers and Navajo plied them. I had run out, while I was plying I ran out of the Magpie, so I wasn't able to continue doing a 3-ply. So I had a little bit of purely Nebula, and then I had a decent amount of the combo of them together. So I perhaps didn't divide my yarn in the most even way, but oh well, I'm not too worried about it. And it does look quite lovely altogether, so there probably could have been a lot of other different combinations you could have done in order to get whatever the little rainbow that those two colorways made together. So I brought this to knitting and being like, what does this want to be? Because I was intending to make socks, but it's pretty thick for socks. But my shoes are pretty large. I could probably wear DK socks with this. And everyone wanted to see a cowl out of this. Everyone. So, what do you guys think? Do you think it just screams cowl to you? Or maybe I will do socks and a cowl. I'm not sure. I just really wanted this to be socks, I think. I haven't made DK socks before. It would be an adventure. Actually, that's an interesting point. I'm sort of curious about if I can get a decent estimate for what the wraps per inch would be on the iSpin toolkit. So we shall see. Okay. So what I have here is the wraps per inch guy there. I called it really close. So the white lines are the estimates for that. And then I am holding my yarn against it to try to figure out what's going on. Not like I'm... Okay. So I would say for that section it was about 17. I have some thicker parts in here that are probably somewhere in the 10 to 11-ish range. Yeah, so I would say somewhere between 13 and 17 on this guy, just sampling. I have something in here which is somewhere in the 20 range as well. So there's just all sorts of craziness. Apparently, oh man, there's so many different calculators. It'd be fun to use the calculators. I probably should use the calculators, because that would probably help me a lot. Except it appears the app is frozen, so there are probably a lot that I can do to learn. So I think now that I know that I can make nice, balanced, squishy yarn on my wheel, that the next step is to go on. This game's a little crazy. Like, use my foot. Try it out. So this looks a little bit crazy right now, but oh well, such is life. So, now that I know that I can produce some pretty nice yarn on my wheel, it is probably worth trying to be more intentional about my spin and stuff like that. So, being able to make what I intend to make on purpose as opposed to hoping I get something and trying to spin that way. But I made this guy on the smallest ratio I have on my Lindrum. So that would imply that if I want to do, that if I'm going to up my game and make a sock yarn or a 3-ply sock yarn with the wheel, that I'm going to have to switch to the fast flyer, which isn't the same as the very fast flyer, but the normal flyer isn't apparently cutting the mustard. So that is this right there. So this still needs to get its bath. I'm just going to assume that it's not going to change all that much. Like, I have spun Polworth, and everyone says that Polworth changes. For whatever reason, it doesn't do that for me. So we shall see, but it looks like it definitely isn't my most consistent spin. I think the combination drafting threw in another variable that made it a little bit harder to keep a consistent thing going, so I don't know what my next challenge for myself is going to be, but it probably does involve being more mindful of my spin, and maybe working towards consistent yarn, but the colors. So, and I'd love to know your thoughts on the cowl debate as well. So, I'm trying to think about what else is going on. The Something Special knit-along is going on. Obviously enough, I still have yet to start a project for that. But I did say that I would start spinning the camel still. And maybe that is the next interesting challenge for me, is to stick the very fast flyer on the wheel and do that, or to start spindling it. I'm not sure. I don't know. There's all sorts of beautiful directions that could go. It might turn out to be an interesting challenge to try to spin a 2-ply lace weight on the wheel. That might be the next interesting thing to do. And I will make sure to take photos and whatever, show off what ridiculous things I'm trying to do. But feel free to hop in and show off your project. We have a wide variety of different things that are going on in the thread. So Drive Through Beeps, aka Jen, is working on a Afghan for her soon-to-be sister-in-law, who's getting married soon. What is it? There is, what is it? I'm pretty sure Allison is working on a pair of socks, and Jose is working on a hat with a special skein of yarn, so feel free to jump right in. It'll be nice to see. And what else? Is there anything else I want to talk about? So, if we take 25 and add 7, we get 32, which means that February 1st is when I will be recording again. So I was wondering if it was going to be still in January or not, but it looks like the last day of January is going to be next Saturday, in case you guys were wondering. And I should be able to record then. I don't know, maybe I'll find out something different and then I'll still be recording in January, but no big deal, whatever. And we'll see how much longer I can go before I decide I want to cast on something new. It has been 8 weeks of the same thing. Things only get done when you work on them, but oh man, it would be fun to knit something different. Oh well. Or maybe I need to spin less so that I can finish my knitting projects and I can have something new to work on. Who knows? But I think that's everything for this episode, so it wasn't super duper short. With all of my debating and pondering on screen. But I hope you guys have a lovely week, and thanks for hanging out. So take care, guys. Bye-bye.